Yo, it's Guido coming at you with the Tactics Talk. Welcome back, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Hopefully you've seen my video on topography mode. More of an overall video on it. I've been messing around with it a little bit more and decided to try to take some of this and turn it into a bit of some training videos. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take each one of these. Ideally, I'll get through all of them. So there's 4 scenarios and 15 different maps. We'll get to them eventually. And the idea here is going to be, I'm going to tell you what you should have learned from this. Some of the nuances, some of the important stuff, but it's going to be at a very basic level for the new player. So here we are, we're on the Lakeview map of topography mode. We're going to do Armored Tank 1. I've already done it once, so obviously I'll play it a couple times, once or twice, whatever it takes, and then we'll go back in there and I will do the video and we'll talk about what you should have learned. Now this is very interesting because it says, the key point of this tactic is the pass. Gorge attack. All right, so they're going to send you through what we call the Valley of the Noobs. The reason it's called the Valley of the Noobs is that's where a lot of newer players go. It is not really highly recommended that you go into the valley on Lakeville. Benefits are, there's only one avenue of attack, right? You're just facing the enemy, and we'll look at that when we get there. So you're not going to get shot in the side. You can get bombed by arty from the north and the south. And there's a very strong hold-down position. Better from north, worse from the south, although the defensive position in the south has some advantages. We'll talk about it when we get to it. It says, moving to the gorge, it's recommended to take a position at the pass from which you can fire at the south approach. Break through enemy defense to clear the way to the lower base, which will provide the opportunity to hit the enemy on the flank in the town. Okay. Break. Virtually never happens that you break through, go through the enemy cap, and all the way into town to flank them. Terrible advice. All right? Mostly because you only have 15 minutes. There will be people there 99.9% of the time. It will take a while to fight through them. And by the time you get to their cap, they will have campers there, or they will realize that you're on the cap, and you won't ever get through the cap. Okay, so we'll talk about that as we go. So here we go, topography mode. This is going to be fun going through these. Topography mode, mission number 1. Here we go. So we spawn into the north side and we decide to go to valley. All right, why would you go valley? Newer players often do that, as I said, because it isolates the threat in one direction. Going over to the town, over to the village over here, you can get shot from the road. You can get shot from multiple directions in the city. It's a much harder fight for the newer player. The middle is very similar. It's even harder. You can get shredded from all these positions in the south. So we've decided to go valley. I don't recommend valley, but how do we do that if we're going to do it? First of all, this ground is marshy ground, and I don't think that's actually set up for this particular. It might be, but it doesn't really feel like marshy ground. When you're in a regular pub match and you're trying to drive through this, you're going to go very slow indeed. Your task is to destroy all targets, but first, reach the firing line. So once you go to the firing line, and the point of this is that this is a hold down position, and he will mention this in just a minute. We'll listen to what he says, and then we'll talk about that. What you should learn. You're on the firing line. Destroy the target. Okay, destroy the target. So I'm going to take one shot on this guy. See if he says it here. Okay, use the terrain to hide most of your vehicle. What he's talking about is what we call hold down. What I want to do is I'm going to come up above the terrain. See how now I can't see them? That means my turret is mostly below the terrain. Remember, this is the gun line I'm looking at, though. There is some turret above the gun line. So as I come up and over, he's actually just about got a shot on my turret. And all I do is come up a little bit more, and he's got a shot. All right? So I'm minimizing the amount of my tank that is exposed to his shot. I want to come up to where I have a shot, aim in a little bit, we'll take a shot, and you can see he actually hit the upper part of my turret, right into the old mantlet right there. And then I'll do the same thing with the heavy tank. On this position, what you're going to find is hold down enemies on the side, on the other side, while you're going hold down here, And you're going to find a lot of TDs and campers back here in these bushes back here. Now for this scenario, there happens to be only one TD, but you can bet your bottom dollar, if there's artillery, they will be back in this area back here, bombing you, and you have really nowhere to go. All right. We're not going to get into more advanced stuff about getting up on the side here using that bush, side scraping off of this bush back here. We're just going to work the very basics. So we want to come up over here, and we're just going to shoot this guy. We missed. That's a bummer. He returned fire, and he nails us. And we bounce. Now the mantlet, what you need to learn here is, and the mantlet is most of the front of the turret. See the part around the gun? That's called the mantlet. That's usually thickly armored. You'll notice that I'm getting shredded right through my mantlet. I got two little eye holes. Looks like a looks like a face right now. All right, so he's having no trouble going through my mantlet. When you're taking on a tank with a mantlet, it is best to actually try to aim away from it. You'll notice though that this German tank is a bunch of mantlet. So I get a pin and I shoot. Another thing you'll notice that I did is I shoot, I back out to bring myself back below the hill. I wait to the reload, then I come, and I want to move forward just as I'm reloaded. So we'll work on that a little bit more. That's what is hold down. That's how you take on tanks that are doing something like that. Now, what you also need to realize is these enemy tanks are not moving, they're not juking, because more than likely a real player would have been moving back and forth trying to spoil your shot. So any kind of movement can really spoil shots. This part of the push is what is so difficult coming through the valley, is attempting to get in here and push up onto their cap when they're going to be sitting up here in these hold down spots themselves, shredding you as you move in. But what we're going to find is just one guy. Now see, I've got cover right here, and I'm just going to poke forward to where the cover goes away, and I actually expose the enemy tank, shoot, and back out. Right? Waiting for the reload. See my little reloader? Reloaded, boom. Back out, rock back and forth, spoil any kind of shot, because he's really going to be pixel hunting, trying to find a shot on my turret. I actually think he's fired right there. If you ever see him fire, you see the shot go out on that guy. Take that opportunity to pop out and fire. At lower tiers like this, they do reload relatively quickly. At higher tiers, you're going to have a little bit more time. I'm going to do something here that is interesting. We're going to push this dead tank. All right, so enemy tanks, player tanks that die can be pushed. It's going to depend on how strong your tank is. All right, how much engine it has, how heavy it is, how heavy the enemy dead tank is. So we're just going to kind of push this dude around, and what I want to do is get him pushing right in towards this next position that I've got to get to, because I want to use this carcass and show you how to use a dead tank. There's a TD right around the corner right here. So unfortunately this does take a while to push in. Hopefully we've got enough time to do this, because my talking has wasted a bit of it. And we're just going to kind of come around here. Once we get into this position, there he is. Alright, so we're going to move this dead tank around this corner, which shifted a little bit. Now don't spend a whole lot of time doing this, but if it is convenient, then you can get into situations like this. Now I am hold down behind a dead tank. See how I can expose that guy, and I have very little of myself exposed. Boom. Waiting for the reload. Watch the timer. As soon as it comes green, I'm forward, fire. Alright. So we got some additional time. It's telling me to go to this green spot. Now this is the part that drives me a little bit crazy. Very rarely are you going to get a good valley push that pushes up onto their cap that is so lightly defended, such that you can now flank into their backfield. Now I got spotted, so I'm going to come in here until I find this TD that spotted me. Alright, my approach. Notice how I see him, and as soon as he gets lit, I cut left. I'm going lower, which is exposing less of my tank, and I'm covering up against him on these rocks, because I want to get closer to this guy without... Now I'm going to hit by Artie. I want to get closer to this guy without taking shots. Also, there's a guy down here, so let's push up. We're now going to cover up against that medium to the left by using these rocks, multi-bogey environment, and then we're going to side scrape out here, which we talked about in the other video, which is minimizing the amount of tank that is seen. Notice that I'm shooting at the upper right part of his superstructure, and this time I'm going to take a little bit of an aim right here, and we'll shoot right in there. What I am not aiming at is straight at the mantlet, because I don't... Most shots, actually, believe it or not, are going to go near the center with the way the dispersion is modeled. I know, people are scoffing. No, they don't. Yes, they do. They actually do. So aim for the part you want to shoot. I don't want to shoot the mantlet, so I don't aim for the mantlet. All right, so we're going to come around here. This is an interesting one. We're going to light up 2 tanks here. We're going to talk a little bit, again, about multi-bogey environment and positioning, micro-positioning, or tactical positioning on the map and what you want to do. So we're going to come in here and we're going to get lit up by 2 tanks. There's one there and there's one here. I'm actually just going to push forward, and I don't want to get shot by both. So I'll just come here and I'll take this guy on, and I'm using this building, and I know I'm going to get hit by him, but I'm using the building to not be shot by him. So instead of sitting out in the road where I saw them both immediately, I see this a lot, people stop and they start shooting one or the other. I notice them both. I go, all right, let's isolate the guy to the right. We'll go left. We'll take out the medium, and then we'll worry about the heavy tank in just a moment. So the way we're going to handle this guy is come down here. Of course, this is very permissive. None of these guys are pushing on you. They're all kind of sitting, but you get the picture. We're going to come in here. That's the rear of his tank, by the way, and we'll side scrape once again using a building. Just get a little bit of an angle here. We'll poke out to where we get a shot into his 6 o'clock. We get a crit, no damage. Happens. Just stick with it. Reload. Get out. Waiting for the reload. Notice how I'm backing out as I reload. I wish I'd even backed out a little sooner. So really what I want to do is go reloaded, boom, reloaded, boom. Just like that. And there you go. That is the first one of what you should have learned from the topography mode. So that will be Lakeville mission number 1, or scenario number 1 right there. Let me know what you think about this little series. I'll keep going if you guys like that. It really is aimed a little bit more, scenario is what it says. It's certainly aimed a little bit more at the brand new players, but there was a bunch more in that little vignette that you can learn. Just once again, the idea that it's a great idea to go into the valley, push through the cap, and cross over into their flank. That's really nice to think about. The likelihood of that in actual pub matches is very, very low. The only time you would really see that happen is a complete romple stomp, where you just rolled through this pass really fast and the city was mauling them and you were able to just push through and take out the rest of them. Really, at that point, all you're doing is gobbling up hit points. Rarely, if ever, is a hard-fought battle won by that kind of move on this map. It just really doesn't happen, okay? However, talking a little bit about how you fight in the valley, if that is where you go, strengths of the valley are going to be tanks with good gun depression. I didn't talk about that. I should have actually. Tanks with good gun depression and good turrets. All right, this thing's turret is okay. You can see it got shredded a bit right there. But things like T-29s, just as a classic example, lots of gun depression, a good turret. They can do well in this position, positionally, but often they've taken themselves out of the critical terrain, which I would consider to be the town over there. Now, some of these other missions, I believe, do go into town, so when we get to there, we'll talk about that as well. That's all I've got for today, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you have a good day, and we will see you.